Hi, it's Paul here from selfoutforlife.com, and in today's video I'm going to talk about 12 great ways to massively improve your health and dramatically reduce your chances of getting chronic life-changing diseases. So that's a big title and a big claim as well, but I've been doing some research into this area and I'm going to share that with you in this video. Now, one of the inspirations for this video actually came from a TED talk by Dr. Ranji Chatterjee called How to Make Diseases Disappear, and I'll put a link to this video in the description below. And he talks about in this video about the fact that doctors treat symptoms, and for acute diseases that's absolutely fine. You know, you have an infection or something like that and you take an antibiotic and the symptoms disappear and you get better. But what about chronic diseases? You know, there's many people, millions of people who have some kind of chronic disease, and maybe they take some kind of medication to help with the symptoms, but it doesn't actually cure the disease. And what he went on to say is that although two people might have the same disease, so say diabetes or heart disease, but the reasons or causes behind their disease could be very different. So take someone with heart disease. You know, for one person that could be a result of very poor diet and a very sedentary lifestyle. For someone else it could be that they looked after their body, their health was great, but they were under chronic stress. Okay, same disease, very different causes. So what he goes on to say is that the solution must be unique to each individual and that you can't have a one-size-fits-all approach. Okay, so for someone with heart disease, once you find out what's caused it in the first place, they can make some life changes to help reduce the symptoms and maybe even allow the disease itself to start to, you know, go backwards in a way and the person to get better. So he then goes on to talk about the 6 main chronic diseases. And the first one he covers is chronic inflammation. And this can manifest itself in a number of different ways. This is really when your body is chronically inflamed. So rather than acute inflammation, which is when you have a cut and your body does what it needs to do to help heal that cut, chronic inflammation is when it goes on for years. And it can manifest in a lot of different diseases, including depression, which was really interesting. The next one he talks about is insulin resistance, which is basically diabetes. He then talks about depression and how physical factors in your health can cause that, which I found really interesting. And then high blood pressure, heart disease and dementia. So what I'm talking about here can even influence dementia as well and Alzheimer's. He goes on to say that genetics may have a part to play, or they do have a part to play, but the 12 ways that I'm going to cover in this video are much more important, because something has to fire your genetic response. And if that thing doesn't fire, then even if you're prone to something genetically, that won't actually happen. Okay, and this is a whole nother topic called epigenetics, which is fascinating and is a topic for another video, and I will cover that quite soon. So people look for the one thing, the one cure, but in reality it's not that simple, especially if you don't have the foundation to health in place. And once you have that in place by implementing the 12 ways that I'm going to talk about in a moment, then the chances of some magic superfood or something like that working for you greatly increase. Now, as I mentioned, the inspiration and a lot of the content for this video comes from the TED talk by Dr. Ranji Chatterjee, but also from a seminar I went to in Sydney by Tyler Tolman, and I'll put a link to his website in the description below as well. And both of these talks made me realize that you can greatly reduce the chances of getting chronic life-changing diseases. And if you have them already, there are things you can do to improve your situation. So I hope that gives you hope if that's the case for you. And if you think of optimum health, is like at the low end you've got disease, okay, and then at the top end up here you've got optimum health. And we're always moving up or down this continuum every day. We're either doing things to get us closer to optimum health, or we're doing things that are taking us back down to disease. And actually it's like that with a lot of other things in life as well. We're very rarely standing still. You're either moving forward in your career or you're moving backwards. You're either moving forward with your relationships or you're moving backward. And it's the same with your health. Okay? So I'm now going to cover these 12 ways to massively improve your health, your energy, and dramatically reduce your chances of getting a chronic life-changing disease. Remember, nothing is guaranteed, and I'm not a medical doctor and I'm not an expert by any means in this area. This is just information I've been finding recently, which I think has been really useful for me, and I just wanted to share it with you. But I'm pretty confident that if you follow these 12 ways, that you're going to see immediate benefits in terms of energy, vitality, and if you're already suffering from one of these chronic diseases, you'll notice some reduction in the symptoms. Okay, so again, I'm not an expert, just a big disclaimer here. So try these out, get advice professionally from your doctor if you need to first. But here we go, let's get into it. Okay, so the first one is diet. Pretty obvious, okay, you know that already. And diet is really around consuming whole foods rather than processed foods. So the closer the food is to where it came from, the better, okay? And so this is lots of fresh fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, and grains. I personally try to keep dairy, wheat to a minimum, and also try to have some meals where I don't have meat as well. So maybe keep meat to maybe once a day. And it's nice though, because those things can become a bit of a treat, something you really look forward to. And recent research seems to be suggesting that chronic inflammation, which I mentioned earlier, is behind many diseases, including heart disease, arthritis, and whole foods, especially plant-based foods, help to reduce this chronic inflammation. Okay, and also watch your alcohol consumption too. Try and keep that to a sensible level as well. Okay, so the second one, again, pretty obvious: physical activity, movement, stroke, exercise. Okay, so exercise is good for digestion, it's good for releasing stress, it helps you feel good, and it helps you reduce the risk of diseases such as cancer, especially when combined with the diet suggestions above. I think it was on the American Cancer website. It says that if you eat healthily and you do regular exercise, you reduce your risk of cancer by something like 20%. Okay, so quite a big reduction. So the absolute minimum in terms of physical exercise is a 30-minute walk 6 times a week. And that's easy to fit into your schedule. And it can be fun too. I mean, for me, walking is often my podcast time. That's when I listen to podcasts and learn information while I'm walking. And more intensive cardio and weight training is much better. If you can do that, that's going to have a lot more benefits for you. But at an absolute minimum, 30 minutes walking 6 times a week. Okay, it's interesting actually. I was also researching that losing muscle mass, which you do as you get older, also causes insulin resistance. Okay, so weight training is important, something I don't do enough of, but yeah, that's important as well. So number 3 is stress. A little short-term stress is fine. Your body, especially your heart, is well equipped to deal with this. It's ongoing chronic stress that's not good. Your body is just not designed for this. So any kind of stress, anxiety, even depression can be as bad for you as smoking. Maybe there is a reason why there's this person that lives to 100 and has smoked all their life. Maybe they do that because all these other ways of looking after their health they have under control, especially stress. And stress affects your heart disease, coronary artery disease is definitely affected by stress. When you feel stressed, you're more likely to feel depressed. That can cause a lack of connection and social interaction too, so you begin to feel lonely. And there's different types of stress. I mean, there's work stress, that's a common one that we often deal with. Emotional stress that can often come from relationships and maybe anxiety over health and things like that. And also perceived stress, that could be just something like seeing all your emails in your inbox, and that can immediately allow you to feel stress. And again, stress is a big topic, and it's something I'll cover in another video as well. And the thing about stress is it raises the hormone cortisol in your body, and that also raises your sugar levels. So again, causing or increasing the likelihood of insulin resistance. Okay, so you can see how this is all connected now. And also, if the body feels that it's under constant attack from stress, the fight or flight, then that is also linked to chronic inflammation. Okay, and chronic inflammation has a link to depression. Okay, so you can see there's a lot of factors at play here. And stress affects you indirectly as well, because when you're stressed, you're more likely to overeat, eat the wrong foods, drink alcohol to relax, maybe smoke, those kind of things. So number 4 is unresolved emotional pain. So long-term and unresolved negative emotions such as resentment, guilt, anger are bad for your body. So they create tension, and emotions then get trapped in your body. Okay, now resentment especially is linked to cancer. If you read You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay, you'll see that very clearly mentioned in that book. And these emotions, these negative emotions often come from past events involving other people, and we'll come on to that in a moment. So it's important that you find a way to resolve negative emotions. Okay, so if it means dealing with the person, getting some kind of therapy to help you with that, or using some self-help techniques to help you release emotions, that's really important. And I also was discovered recently that actually yoga actually helps release emotions as well. Okay, so quite a few different ways you can do that, but it's really important that you deal with your stuff, basically, if it needs dealing with. So number 5 is relationships. So the quality of your relationships. Relationships can be a big source of stress as well. So what's your relationship like with your spouse? Is it going well? Again, is that relationship going up or is it going down? Remember, nothing's ever constant. You know, are you spending enough time with family and friends? You know, that can be a great way to feel better and happier generally. And again, I was at another seminar in Sydney very recently when I heard that loneliness is very bad for your health as well. Okay, and again, it's described as being as bad as smoking and can take 5 to 7 years off your life. Okay, so if you're feeling lonely, what can you do to get out and connect more with people? Okay, and also, what's your relationship like with yourself? What's your internal self-talk like? Are you taking time for yourself? Are you caring for yourself? Okay, so lots of things to think about in terms of relationships. So the next one, number 6, is sleep. So are you getting 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep every night? Now, I covered the effects of poor sleep and not enough sleep in another video, and there'll be a link to that video in the description, and also it should pop up on the left or the right side as well just now as I'm talking. But to summarize, 2 or 3 nights of poor sleep will massively increase your anxiety. It dramatically affects your blood sugar levels, and it's very hard to think and be positive when you haven't had a good night's sleep. So make sure you're prioritizing sleep, 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep, and that will really help you. Okay, number 7 is rest. So linked to sleep is rest. Professional athletes and sports people know the importance of rest and recovery. However, many other people, especially office workers, seem to forget this. And your brain is a muscle, and your brain needs a rest too. So make sure you're taking some time out to rest, relax, and recuperate. You know, things like meditation, just little bits of meditation throughout the day, you know, hot baths, maybe some time watching some meaningless TV, spending some time out with friends. These are all things that just help you rest and recharge. Okay, number 8 is toxins. Now this is quite a general one. So this includes things that you ingest, so smoking, alcohol, processed foods. So again, just keep all those things to a minimum as much as you can, but also skin products as well. One of the things I've been doing is I've been looking at all the things that I use every day and finding natural alternatives. So I started with toothpaste. I went to the health food shop and found the natural toothpaste. And then I changed the shower gel that I was using to a natural alternative, and then shampoo. And so all those sort of things that I use on an everyday basis, I've been looking for natural alternatives as much as possible. So I encourage you to do that, just see what else is out there. Because the toxins from some of these products, you know, they're getting into your skin if you're using them every day. So that can affect you as well. And then environmental toxins as well, pollution, radiation. Well, it's hard to control these, especially if, like me, you live in a large city. But the good thing about living in a city, though, is you often have much better access to superfoods and healthy choices. It's much easier to find a vegan restaurant when you're out and about in a city than maybe in a small country town. So you can compensate for some of the harmful effects of living in a city. Okay, number 9 is passion and purpose. So you can see that some of these are more mental health rather than physical. So you can see the link here. So this is really about doing more time for the things you love, spending time on hobbies, sports. It's also about making time for yourself. You know, look, if you hate your job, and I've been in this situation, so I know exactly what it's like, or if your job is just taking far too much of your time, it's important that you find or make a way to change it. You know, it's not going to be an instant thing, but just setting that intention that I'm going to do something about this, okay? And you just got to sometimes just do whatever it takes to make that happen. You know, it was actually my experience of being in a job that I didn't like that gave me the inspiration to become a hypnotherapist and also to start Self-Help for Life. You know, I was in a job, it was quite boring, and I had a lot of time to think, and so I just started working on this. This is where the ideas came from, really. And when you're happy in your work, this is what I found anyway, when you're happy in your work, you're happier in life, your partner's happier, your kids are happier, your friends are happier, and everything just becomes easier. So if you're in a job you hate, you really got to do something about that. Just do whatever it takes. And not just with the work, but purpose in life generally. You know, you hear stories about you know, elderly people who are really ill. You know, they're dying basically, and they somehow manage to stay alive for a wedding or a significant family event, and then they die shortly after. So something just keeps them going, that sense of purpose, that event. Or you hear about people who die shortly after retiring because they've lost their purpose and meaning in life. So it seems like your body senses that sense of purpose and meaning, and if you keep that going, it seems to have some effect on your body and your overall wellness. Okay, so your body senses that purpose, that drive, that vision, and it seems to change things chemically in some way. Again, there's no way I can prove this, but the evidence seems to be there that's what happens. So number 10 is air. Most adults breathe shallow and in the chest, so up here. And when you do that, you'll have low energy, you'll feel sleepy, you'll be yawning. If you think about yawning, that's your body unconsciously wanting you to take in more air. Okay. Also, when stressed, people tend to breathe shallow as well, or when you're anxious, that kind of thing. And what's interesting is when you exercise, that forces you to breathe deeply, especially cardio. Okay, so you have to. So exercise is great for that, but also you can consciously work on breathing more deeply. And what you want to do is breathe deeply through your stomach. So lower down from the chest into the stomach or the diaphragm. Okay, so you can practice that. You can just practice taking deep breaths in. A good idea can be just to set a timer on your smartphone, maybe once an hour, to remind you to take 2 or 3 minutes to breathe deeply. Okay, so breathing is great for your body, also helps you relax as well. Okay, number 11 is water. So drinking lots of water is great for flushing out toxins. It also helps you stay physically and mentally alert. I know that when I drink a litre of water pretty quickly, like within an hour, that I do notice that I feel more mentally alert, more mentally strong. And it's a real difference. It's really quite obvious. I really notice the difference. And the recommended guideline is to drink 1 litre for every 20 kilos of body weight. Okay, so for the typical person, that's probably going to be around 3 to 5 litres a day, dependent on your weight. And so what counts? So obviously water counts, herbal teas count. Alcohol unfortunately doesn't count, neither does caffeinated drinks because they tend to dehydrate you as well. So you're looking at really pure water or herbal teas to get the right amount of water in your body every day. Okay, the last one but not least is sunlight. Now this was a surprising one for me. Even in small doses, just 20 to 30 minutes of sunlight helps increase vitamin D in your body, and that's important for preventing cancer, among other things. Okay, also getting out in the warmth, even if the sun's not out, is good for detoxing because you sweat, and it also helps digestion as well. So lots of benefits. So sunlight also activates the pituitary and pineal glands, and that sets your body clock. So by being out in the sun, your body knows when to feel sleepy at night. Okay, and interestingly, again, I was reading this somewhere else, that a lack of sun can cause insomnia. And again, it's probably because your body doesn't know when it's day and when it's nighttime. So get out in the sun 20 to 30 minutes a day, and consider in the winter time, or if you're in an area where there's not much sun, especially in the winter, taking a vitamin D supplement. okay, to help you during those winter months. Luckily in Australia it's pretty good. It's sunny right now as I'm recording this video. But if you're living in another part of the world, consider supplementing vitamin D or getting a blood test to check your vitamin D levels. So just to recap then on the 12 great ways to massively improve your health. We kicked off with diet, pretty obvious, lots of good ideas there. Physical activity and exercise, again, pretty obvious. Stress, okay, stress is a biggie, so don't underestimate that. Unresolved emotional pain, so if you have emotional pain that you haven't dealt with, do work on that either yourself or with the help of a professional. Relationships, so work on those. Sleep, 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night. Getting rest, rest is good for you anyway in so many ways, so just make sure you're getting the rest. Look at the toxins, things you're ingesting, skin products you're using, your environment as well. Have a sense of passion or purpose, so work on that if you don't really have that at the moment. Work on changing your career if you need to, your job situation. Make sure you're breathing deeply, make sure you're drinking plenty of water and getting out in the sun. Okay, so there are 12 great ways to really build a foundation for your health. Okay, so if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, please do subscribe to my YouTube channel and click the bell notification as well. That's really important because that way YouTube will notify you when I release new videos, which are every week at the moment. And do go and check out my website if you haven't already. That's selfhelpforlife.com. On my website, you will see the written versions to many of these video blogs and also links to my podcast and social media as well. So you can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest. So thank you for watching this video. If you want to leave a comment, please do. I'd love to hear your feedback, and I look forward to sharing more great content with you very soon. Bye for now.